Hello, everyone. Welcome to the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. I am John, and today I am extremely excited to welcome Rebecca Forstadt to the podcast. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Happy to have you. I usually like to start these out by asking, what have you been working on that you can share with us?
Well, I just finished doing a little convention in Burbank. Um, Otherwise, I don't know, the industry's changed quite a bit. So I've sort of moved into doing a lot of social media stuff. Like I'm a blogger, an influencer, an Amazon influencer. I do all kinds of different things. I do have a couple of YouTube channels where I'm like I do LA travel and something that has nothing to do with voiceovers at all.
That's okay.
But, just sort of waiting for the next gig.
It's awesome that you are just being very proactive and putting yourself out there, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had fun yesterday. It was great meeting. We kind of had a little bit of a Robotech reunion in Burbank. It was called Robo Toy Fest, and it was a lot of fun. I get to hang out with a lot of my friends and, meet all the fans and stuff.
Well, fantastic. I'm glad you got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me start the interview in earnest by asking you this. What made you first take an interest in acting?
Oh, wow. Well, I did a play in fourth grade, and that kind of got me into it. We used to make these silent movies. My dad actually had a sound camera. So kind of got into that. And then in high school, I started doing theater. I was in the drama club and did plays and stuff. Then I got my first professional acting gig doing melodramas at the Birdcage Theater in Knott's Berry Farm, and worked there for about 3 years. And that's someplace that Steve Martin worked at and a couple other people. I worked with Lauren Tweez, who was on the Love Boat. And then I did theater in college and then moved to Los Angeles to take acting classes, and kind of like sort of got waylaid for a little while because I met a producer in a parking lot and ended up doing wardrobe on a couple of films. And then I got into the union and was working as a wardrobe person on Hill Street Blues and The White Shadow and a Blake Edwards film. But I really wanted to, still pursue a career as an actor. I started working. I did a couple of movies. I starred in a couple of movies, but my main thing was voiceovers because of my voice. So that was kind of an easy thing to get into for me at that time.
Yeah, you have a very distinctive voice.
Yeah, it's still young,
You
even
know,
though I'm not.
that's okay. You're still out there doing work and doing just great stuff.
Yeah, we all reinvent ourselves depending on what's going on. What's happening right now is that because of the pandemic and even before that, people were working from home, so they had to have their own home studios. And because I had to move during the pandemic a couple of times, I never really had a good space for a home studio. So that kind of made it a little bit difficult. But now things are opening up more. There's more studio work, I guess. Although not as much in LA. It's kind of all over the place right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of work gets done in places like Georgia and things like that now.
Yeah, yeah. People can do it from anywhere now. It used to be Los Angeles, New York, maybe Vancouver. And now it's like you can be in the middle of Kansas somewhere and, in a tornado shelter and still, do it.
Yeah, as the technology is advanced, where as long as you've got the equipment, you can do it.
That's right. That's right. Well, hopefully someday I'll be able to get back and do that. But the other thing is too, is that I was never trained to be an engineer. So that's like a whole other skill in itself, to be able to know if the sound is good and everything. It's not something I ever studied for.
Yeah, I found that a lot of actors these days are are finding themselves forced to learn a little bit of engineering just because of the prevalence of working remotely.
Oh, they do. I mean, they have to be real experts at it. And that's just sort of like, one, do I really want to deal with that? I don't know. I'd rather do my like a YouTube video and not worry about it so much.
Well, who would you say has had the biggest impact on your career?
As far as voiceovers or
Oh,
just
just
in
it can be
general?
just in general.
Wow.
Yeah, I like to make this
I
question as hard as possible for people.
yeah. I think, well, there are a lot of people that believed in me in both doing theater and also as in voiceovers. So I worked with a couple of really great theater companies a while ago because you don't really get paid much to be in theater in Los Angeles, unfortunately, unless you're doing a musical or something. And there were a couple of directors that I worked with that really had an impact on me, and I was able to win awards for my acting and everything. And then as far as voiceovers, it was just the people that hired me and kept rehiring me over and over again on a lot of projects. For a while, there were only about 30 people, I would say, that were doing what we were doing. So all the most of the anime that came out of Los Angeles was the same group of actors. Yeah, I don't know. There's just there's so many people, I guess. Yeah, as long as they believe in you, and they even if you don't believe in yourself, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think all of us need that encouragement.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I could name a specific person. I don't know.
That's
You
okay.
wouldn't be anybody you'd know.
Well, that's okay too. That's kind of the beauty of the question is that sometimes you get to learn about, just people you'd never know about otherwise.
Yeah, I would say that Carl Masick, who was the person that put together Robotech, he really changed the landscape of anime in the United States, I think, because there really wasn't that much happening. We were doing projects before that, but we never knew where they were going. And other than things that I saw in the 60s, like Kimba the White Lion or Speed Racer, a couple of shows like that, there wasn't a lot of anime. We didn't even really know what anime was. To tell you the truth. So it brought it to the forefront. And now all of a sudden there's just like an influx of tons and tons of anime coming into the US too. I mean, I did background voices in movies, I did commercials, video games, all sorts of stuff, and some original animation as well.
You're right as far as, Robotech, Voltron shows like that really took anime and made it more mainstream. Both of them had very successful toy lines and things like that. Yeah,
Well, to be
absolutely.
able to be sitting at this convention yesterday with some of the people from Robotech 40 years later, and you're going like, hey, they're still fans. It's like so amazing. Even though it's not like what you would consider to be the authentic type of anime, the type that they're doing now where they're sticking really closely to the original, it still just brought it to the attention of a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I always like to ask is, what is the biggest challenge for you as an actor?
Getting work.
Uh, sure, that's fair.
That's pretty much it. The rest of it, that's like your job is getting work. The vacation is when you're doing the job or, when you're
Yeah.
actually working.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, and it's such a competitive field. It's not even 1 in 10. It might be 1 in 100 or more in terms of just the things that you audition for to the things that you book.
Well, it's even worse, I think. It's, it used to be fairly straightforward. There were certain groups of people that did certain things and they did them. But now it's like when you get so many people coming from all over the place, but also working for nothing. So a lot of people are working on Fiverr and they're working on other platforms where they're really not getting paid the rates that we would normally get paid. And there's just thousands and thousands of people trying to be voice actors. And then there's this other thing that has been going on for at least a decade or more is these pay to play sites where you pay to audition, which most people that are professionals would refuse to do. Like I wouldn't do it. But there's people doing that and they're putting out a lot of money and they're taking classes, and a lot of them don't have theater training or they don't have any type of acting training. They just are fans that want to be in these cartoons and things. So, it's some people do break through and they're really successful, but the majority, probably 99% of them, without any training and stuff, they're really not going to make it very far.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because, like you talked about with pay to play sites and things like that, it's really just predatory. It's taking advantage of a lot of people's dreams, and technology has certainly enabled people to do this type of work from wherever instead of having to be in just one location. But it
Yeah.
also has opened up a lot of people to some heartbreak, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, they're kind of wasting their time. I mean, it's never some parts of voice acting can be really lucrative. Like it used to be that guys that did the movie trailers would make tons of money. I mean, they'd go in a limousine from audition to audition, just and booking all kinds of work and everything, and they'd make a huge amount of money. And commercials used to be really big too, but now, everything's on streaming. So, and it uses a lot of celebrities. So it's really changed a lot in that way. And anime, it was probably the lowest paying of all the genres.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's totally. And especially when people work non-union, it's just, it's not good.
Well, what are some of your interests outside of acting?
Oh, I have a lot. In fact, that's why I got into doing what I'm doing now. First of all, I love to travel. I can't always travel now. I'd have to win the lottery probably to take another trip. But what I've been doing is Los Angeles is a huge city. It's like a world in itself. So I started a travel blog of Los Angeles, and I narrate these little videos and I write blog posts about it. And so that's a lot of fun. And that's one of my main interests, I think. And then also the blogging became really big with me. I started that in about 2008, and I have several blogs. I've, had other blogs that are kind of come and gone, but I have a couple of blogs right now that are doing pretty well. So, doing things like that are really fun. And I work with brands and I do little, product reviews and things like that. So it's fun. And then, I like dogs and I like wine tasting and I like, things like that. I don't have any dogs right now. My two dogs passed away, but just things like that. I like to have a full life. I think sometimes actors, they get so focused that they can't think about anything else. They just that's it. They don't have any other interests. And I think it's important to. Also, I have a family too. So that was, I had kids and there's all that going on too.
Well, is there any particular place that you'd like to travel that you haven't yet?
Oh gosh, there's so many, but yeah, I've primarily traveled to Europe and also Mexico and Canada, but I've never been to Asia yet. I'd love to go to Thailand or Vietnam or someplace like that, just to kind of see the difference. And then there's other European cities I'd love to go to too, like Belgium or Croatia or, places, or definitely the UK, Scotland, Ireland. I haven't been there yet.
Well, I hope something works out for you and you get to travel more in the near future.
I hope so. I just have to win the lottery first.
Well, if you do, let me know.
Yeah, or my social media stuff kicks in really hard.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, where can people find your blog and your social media stuff?
Well, my voiceover site is RebeccaForstadt.com. And then I have a YouTube channel, which I've mainly been doing a lot of my travel stuff on, mainly because I had 3 YouTube channels and I accidentally deleted one, the travel channel. So then I just put it on my voiceover channel. And that's Rebecca Forstadt Voices. And then I'm on Instagram and on all kinds of stuff. So probably on Twitter or X at Rebecca Forstadt. Those are good places to contact me.
Well, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you. Really, I had a fun time.
And thank you once again for listening to yet another awesome interview from the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. You can find our wonderful interviewer John at all sorts of places online at J5 is Live, and you can find the OSMcast at all things OSMcast, OSMcast, whether it be .com for the website or your social media platform of choice. Once again, we want to thank our guest for chatting with us. And until next time, thank you for listening, and we're out.